This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by.
Can I welcome members and officers here at the City Hall and the public here in the gallery or watching on our webcast to the GLA Oversight Committee. Today we'll be holding our second part of three-part investigation on London's place in government's devolution reforms. Please may I remind participants to turn off your mics and phones until you are ready to speak with the microphone and to bring that closer to you. Also, can I ask the clerk, Paul Goodchild, to confirm any apologies for absence for today's meeting?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies today from Assemblymember McCartney, and Assemblymember Small-Edwards is here as substitute, and also apologies from Assemblymember Duval.
Thank you. Move on to declarations of interests. Can we note the list of offices held by Assembly members? And can I ask members if they have any disclosable pecuniary interests in specific items listed on the agenda? No? Noted. Thank you. Minutes of the last meeting. Can we confirm the minutes of the meeting of the committee on the 14th of May to be signed by me as a correct record? Thank you. And can we note the ongoing actions arising from previous meetings of the GLA Oversight Committee? Thank you. Action taken under delegated authority. Can I ask the committee to note the following recent action taken by myself as chair in consultation with group leads under delegated authority to agree the following. So firstly was the committee's response to the consultation on arrangements for this evening's State of London debate 2025 as attached in the appendix. And secondly, the response from the Senior Manager, Events for London, as attached in the Appendix 2. Thank you. So we come to the substantial item for today. Buongiorno, good morning to our representatives from Toronto and from Milan. We have with us, joining us today, John Elvidge. Very warm welcome to you, especially at the time of morning that you're joining us, who is the City Clerk of the City of Toronto. And we also have the Deputy Mayor, Gaia Romani, who is Deputy Mayor in Milan for decentralisation, neighbourhoods and participation. We hope also to be joined by our Chief of Staff to the Mayor of Milan, Filippo Barberis. So welcome all. Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to, we've got just under an hour with you. So I'm going to ask you all to start off with, if you can tell us what you feel just briefly are the benefits of the systems that you have in place in your city. So perhaps if we could start with John. So what benefits do you have in terms of your governance model over other cities?
Well, I was just in my dialogue with the committee earlier. The key feature of our system of government that stands out, I think, is that there is no separation of legislative and executive powers on our council. Under our provincial laws, the council exercises all the powers of the city, and as a result, in combination with the fact that we don't have parties in our system, what we do have is a system in which there is free and easy pathways and routes for issues to be raised within the council, as all members have equal rights, and debates occur in public, fully in public, here without formal voting blocks, without party structures, so that voting blocks and coalitions shift, between issues and the context of those issues. So I think our system appears to me to be a little bit more flexible in that regard.
Thank you very much. And Deputy Mayor, would you like to come in and say what benefits you feel that your system has?
Good morning, everyone, again. I think that in these years, our systems support us in trying to both keep together a general and large strategy on all the metropolitan area of our city. On the other hand, we are investing a lot of energy, time and efforts in trying also to be nearer to the citizens of single barrios and single districts. So the fact that we have 3 institutional levels, the 9 districts of Milan, the city council, and then the metropolitan area, is helping us in the challenge to keep together those dimensions, the one in which we want to be really close to the life of our citizens, and on the other hand to enrich our city council strategy, cooperating and coordinate with also the all 133 other towns that around Milan compose the metropolitan area of our city. So I think that it's not always easy to keep all these levels together, but I think that they are actually helping us in this challenge. So I would say that. I don't know if Filippo wants to add something, obviously.
So good morning to everybody. I think Deputy Mayor Romano has resumed the main issue. So keep all those levels together, thinking that we have a very fragmented government outside Milan. So we have 133 administrations, and it's not so easy to have a leverage of government to bring all those administrations to common goal, thinking about for instance, environmental transition, or a more integrating urban planning strategy, on transport strategy, that are really the main goal, also to show to the citizen the benefit of a most integrated governance. So even if the institutional power are not so strict, thinking about the metropolitan area level, we are trying, giving common goals to move also with the moral suasion through this political goal. And this is a bit the situation, thinking about the main objective of this mandate.
Grazie. So just to talk about, move that on to the challenges that you're facing as cities, and if you could talk about what additional powers that you would be looking for as cities to help you tackle those challenges. Deputy Mayor Romano, start with yourself.
Of course, we are really, we would like to have more power, especially for housing challenge. So as we shared in different occasions, we actually, as a city, we are trying to implement some actions to try to face the inequalities, which obviously nowadays for all the city like ours are the main challenge that we all face. But inequalities have so many faces, and in our city, I would say that the housing challenge is the more urgent right now. But cities don't really have enough power to, for instance, put some limits to the rentals or to intervene directly in the rental market. So we also try to cooperate with other Italian cities. 2 years ago, we went to the also to the in general international context to try to bring our questions and our requests also in Europe, for instance, I remember. But yes, so I think this one, of course, and also in mobility and transportation. We have in the last decade, we've implemented a lot of strong and brave policies, such as two low emission zone. In December, we opened a new metro line, but also the central government is not helping us with more funds. So in the last years, they remained the same. but obviously, if we are alone and we don't have a national strategy on those type of policies, even when we have powers to do something, the risk is that we are not efficacious enough at the end, and our impact is lowest that what we would like to. So, for instance, to give you some.
Oh, sorry, I'm just going to pause you, if that's okay, Deputy Mayor Romani, because we will have a chance to come back to some of these topics. Just conscious of time. John, would you like to talk about some of the challenges that Toronto faces and what additional... you spoke earlier to our group about additional powers that you had.
First of all, you know, I think we face many of the challenges that many cities do. So affordability and affordable housing is a sort of a top policy challenge for our council at the moment, followed by getting people around, either dealing with transit and investment in transit, but also traffic congestion and mobility within the city. You know, so those are two of the major concerns. I think our challenges are that in Canada and in Ontario, where we're situated, we are creatures of the provincial government, and so we are subject to the policy and financing and regulatory frameworks of that government, which do change from time to time. We're also, another major challenge for us is that our revenue sources do not grow with the economy. Our principal revenue source is the property tax, which does not benefit from the increase in the assessment value of property in the city. And so our revenue sources are quite fixed to deal with problems which are really, quite elastic. So those are amongst some of those challenges. And the other challenge too is just managing our relationship with our provincial government in terms of the legislative and statutory framework that guides all of our actions.
Thank you very much, John. I'm going to move to Assembly Member Baker, who's going to ask around transport and transit.
Thanks, Chair. So both Milan and Toronto city governments have powers over urban transport, just like we do have in London, but obviously that needs to be coordinated both at the regional level and a national level. So I'd like to ask how well this is working, what you would like to see improved. And I'm thinking about the levels to which responsibilities lie in terms of city and region, and also in terms of funding. And Toronto?
I could go first, maybe. Yeah. Just, briefly say, of course, yes, here in Toronto, the city is responsible for local transit. The provincial government, again, the government of Ontario is responsible for regional transit and sort of the heavy rail regional transit in the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. Of note, really, in the last 5 to 10 years, the provincial government has also taken over some responsibility for building local transit lines, which will eventually be transferred to the city. And so that's a change for us here, is from where the city used to construct transit lines. Now the provincial government is using its financing and borrowing powers to do that. I think I'm not a transit expert. I'm not the real transit expert here at the city, but I would say our challenges are coordinating the different priorities of the two governments, making sure that decisions that are being made at the provincial level are reflective of actually the true circumstances at the local level. Maybe I'll just stop there. I can answer any questions about that if needed.
Thanks, that's helpful.
Okay, so we have a great, as you said, a great autonomy on urban transportation policies, but the regional and the national government are supposed to finance in large part those interventions, due to the fact that we have different political views right now. Actually, in our region, which is Lombardia, this political different government is quite long right now. I mean, has been different for a long time. So we have at the government of the region, we have right parties since 30 years right now. And instead, Milan is governed by the left wing since 15 years right now. So due to the fact that this division is historical, the city of Milan chose to go ahead in improving new metro line, new low emission zone areas, as I said before, on its own, we could say. And the fact that these funds are not arriving, so are not increasing. Obviously, this is the most problem that we are facing right now.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Thank you. Over to Caroline Russell.
Yes, I just wanted to understand how both cities manage the policy making around issues where, for instance, car use can create congestion, creates road danger, creates problems of pollution. And so cities have, certainly we here in London, have lots of policies around trying to reduce the amount of traffic and make it easier for people to make journeys by public transport and walking and cycling. And I just wondered if there's anything you want to say about your system of decision making and how that relates to issues where there are strong opinions held by people on people who see the solution to be reducing traffic and those who really want to support people to keep making as many journeys as possible by car.
If you can answer, I would say that the majority inside the City Council and of course also in the executive order is compact on the goal to reduce traffic and reduce the level of pollution in the air. Of course, then there are different perspectives on the way to achieve this goal that, as Deputy Mayor Romani was saying before, doesn't find a common view also at the regional level. So in general, the right-wing's policies are less care about how fast we reduce the number of vehicles, the private vehicles, and the emission of the vehicles. In general, at the national level, at the regional level, think more than is a natural process that will take its time, but doesn't need to be pushed as we think it needs to be pushed and to be accelerated. So the procedure of the main strategy pass through the City Council, thinking about the policies that has an impact inside the territory of the municipality of Milan. Thinking about the metropolitan area, the governance is more complex because needs an agreement with a different municipality to have stronger and compulsory limits to the circulation of the vehicle. Other way, the level should be the region. So without strong policies at the regional level, on the metropolitan area, basically we can just move through a strong moral suasion with a different administration that can be also, of course, of different political color, trying to have common tools to reduce the traffic and the pollution. What we have seen in the last years is that the two low emission zones, so one in the center that is more strict and one that covered the 75% of the territory of municipality of Milan, had the effect to accelerate the vehicle changing in a dimension of low emission vehicle. Faster, much faster compared to the national average of this changing rate. The other point we are discussing is if it's effective to add a fee to enter in the town, but this is of course a conflict political point, thinking about the other municipality around the town. And thinking about what we were saying before, it is also more complicated because without the other two levels, the region and the state, we are also poorer thinking about the incentive that we can provide to the citizen to change vehicle or implement other form or transport. So this is a bit the trade-off, to be stricter on the rule, but at the same time sustainable in terms of cost of transitions. And this is a balance that would be much more easier if we would be able to generate a better cooperation with all the other institutional level.
Thank you. Is there any point from Toronto on that question?
Yeah, I mean, we've been struggling, I think, with the same, as I said, with getting people moving around. I think our council has dealt with this in from two frameworks. One, I think, is a Vision Zero framework, first of all, which is the so-called Vision Zero movement to try to reduce conflicts and deaths, quite frankly, deaths and injuries between pedestrians and cyclists and motor vehicles. The council has tried a number of tools in the toolkit, from automated speed enforcement to reducing speed limits on residential streets to 30 kilometers across the city. So there have been a number of things put in place to try to reduce death and injury associated with that. But I think in the post-pandemic period, of course, we've seen congestion rise as transit use has been slow to return to its pre-pandemic levels, and more people, have returned to their personal vehicles. So now the emphasis, I think, is on solving this problem to deal with both the quality of life and the economic issues associated with moving goods and people in the city. Like so many things here, I've already alluded to, these major policy areas require cooperation between ourselves and our provincial government. Some of the tools that I know other cities use and that Filippo was just mentioning, things like congestion charges or road tolling, are outside of our power. They were inside our power once, but our provincial government has taken those powers back. And then most prominently here in Toronto, there's one of the major issues at the moment is that our provincial government has also introduced legislation requiring provincial approval of bicycle lanes in the city, where bicycle lanes take a lane of motor vehicle traffic out of commission. So the pendulum is swinging here back and forth as I watch it between the aspirations of the two levels of government.
Goodness, that sounds complicated. I'll hand back to the chair.
Yeah, I think Joel's dropped at that point. Thank you. John, going to move over to Assemblymember Small-Edwards.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My question's about the planning and delivery of housing, something that you've both mentioned and an issue we have in London as well. With John, I know Toronto received additional powers over housing in 2022. Just wanted to ask what kind of impact that has had. And then with Milan, just how you find it delivering and managing social housing, because in the GLA we just provide the funding for delivery, and what challenges and what benefits there are to that. So maybe we'll start with John.
And could I ask, when you say the powers in 2022, are you referring to the so-called strong mayor powers? Is that maybe?
Yes.
Yes. So, okay, I'll just say at the outset, housing here is a three-level of government issue. All three levels of government, the federal government, provincial government, and the local government all have roles in housing provision and in the construction of housing. The powers that the member is just referring to are powers that were given to the mayor in 2022 to help accelerate the construction of there's a provincial government target here of constructing 1.5 million homes before 2030, and each municipality in the province has been assigned a target within that 1.5 million. And so in 2022, the provincial government gave to mayor of Toronto and the mayor of Ottawa, and now has subsequently rolled out to about 190 municipalities. The power to veto matters or bylaws that, in the mayor's opinion, are interfering with the construction of those homes. And then secondly, gives the power, the right to bring something to council directly, despite any procedural rules, and place that before council if that matter would advance the construction of homes. And I have to say, our experience with it so far has been a bit of, it's really a rhetorical device in the sense that our mayor has not needed to use either of those powers to advance our work on housing. You know, I would say largely because there's general consensus amongst the community here that this is a priority for the city. I think the intent of the power, you know, granted in Ontario was to maybe give some leverage to mayors who have a council that is resistant to certain housing initiatives. And there are other municipalities in Ontario where the mayors have used those powers to overcome some reticence on the part of councils to, you know, fast track certain housing projects or use certain properties for housing. It has not happened here. The mayor has not used those powers, although I suppose you could argue whether the potential to use those powers is also, you know, an influential factor in the council decision making.
Thank you very much. And maybe Milan on popolare housing.
So for us now, the cost of housing is the main political goal. So how to reduce cost of housing, because after COVID, and thinking about also the cost of building production after and during the Russian-Ukrainian war and the implementing of raw material and all the cost of construction. So all those elements, also with other externality, thinking about European finance, has pushed up the price of renting. And we are trying to facing this with a response that doesn't involve just the people that has the characteristic to accede to the public housing that I would say has a discount of 80% thinking about the market price, but giving solution also to the lower part of the middle class that doesn't have the condition to accede to the public housing, but it is in difficulties also to face the price of social housing. So our plan, I would say, is divided on two main actions. One action is on the public housing, and we are implementing an extraordinary investment plan to restore thousands of unused apartments that has to be restored, and so implementing the offer for the public housing to the poorest people, for the poorest citizen, and at the same time having also a program to provide houses to more sensitive workers, above all workers in public services that needs lower prices of housing to live in the town. Otherwise, they are not able to live in the town. The other main action is the housing plan. So we are trying to create a new category of social housing that is not 25-30% less compared to the market prices, but 50% left compared to the market prices. How we are trying to do this? Providing to the operators, private operators, that we can select through public procedure, land owned by the municipality for free, trying to reduce in this way the cost of building and moving this money saved on building new houses on price for the citizen. This is something
Grazie, Filippo. Thank you. So, just conscious of time, we've just got under half an hour left. Before I move on to our next question, I just wanted to say a big welcome to Year 7 pupils from Woodmansterne School in Lambeth. Very, very welcome to join us. We are in the middle of an investigation looking at what powers the Mayor of London and London Assembly could have for the next 25 years. And we are talking to guests from internationally, so hence why they're on the screen, from Milan and Toronto as part of that investigation. So very, very welcome. Next question from Assembly Member Best.
Yeah, good morning. We're short on time, so I just want to go to John in Toronto, if that's okay on this, to talk about health. And obviously you've got the Toronto Board of Health. I think that actually around the health inequalities kind of perimeter, the responsibilities match up quite similarly between London and Toronto, but your Board of Health seems to do a lot more kind of scrutiny work and agenda setting than perhaps our Health Committee, which tends to work separately on separate projects to the Mayor. How does that work in practice? Do the Board of Health and councillors through that tend to set the agenda, or have a say on what the direction of the Mayor?
Well, you know, as I said in the pre-meeting, like the mayor's ability to influence and propose things is not quite the same, I think, as your system. But I'll just say a little bit about the Board of Health, which is again, it's back to our relationship with our provincial masters. It is a requirement of the Public Health Act that we have a board. It's composed of primarily citizens, with some members of council who serve. A councillor serves as chair, and there are I can't remember now, 3 I think councillors on a board of about 9 or 10. It has responsibility for the oversight of, again, provincially prescribed programs, so things like sexual health, new mothers and babies, dental screening, these types of things. So there are some provincially mandated programs that the board oversees that are delivered by the Department of Public Health. It acts in some ways outside of the council. There are only a limited range of matters that it is accountable to the council for, and others it's actually accountable to the Act, to the Provincial Public Health Act. And so the medical officer of health, for example, who is the senior official, is both responsible to City Council for some matters and for her management of the Public Health Department, but she's also accountable to the Chief Medical Officer of Health of the Province of Ontario for the delivery of some of these health services. So, I mean, the history of the Toronto Board of Health is that it has also taken strong advocacy stances on public health matters, in addition to the delivery of those core services. The mayor's influence on the Board of Health is, you know, indirect as it would be on any department or any committee, but some mayors choose to be involved in public health matters and others do not. Our current mayor is, you know, it's an area of interest of hers, but there's no direct or formal powers with respect to the board that are ascribed to the mayor.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you very much, Assembly Member Bakari.
Thank you, Chair. In London, the Mayor receives over £300 million on adult education. That's for 19-year-olds and over. And then the GLA can commission how that money is spent, with the Secretary of State offering guidance. Now, how does that differ for you in Toronto and Milan in terms of how you get your funding and how you spend that funding on adult education and adult skills training? I do see that you do focus a lot on employment, but is there less money? How do you deal with the way you tackle adult education? So we'll go to Milan first.
Sure. So both on public health and both on adult education, they are exclusive jurisdiction of regions in Italy. So what we usually do as a municipality is to cooperate with some agencies that help us and that can cooperate with our territorial welfare system. So we try to collaborate with them on a local scale, obviously, thanks to metropolitan area. Which has some more power on that matter. So, for instance, in Milan, we have AFOL, which is a private agency that collaborate with us to try to help adults in re-enter in the work market in our city. So we have a lot of different ways in which we try to be those agencies really part of our system of welfare. So we have some entry point, for instance, in our neighborhoods or in our districts or in our city councils places. So in, for instance, we have the neighborhood, the various houses, which are actually some center in which we provide some form of positive aggregation. We try to give some sports, for instance, for free for kids. So we have some points in our barrios which we provide as a municipality, and so we ask those agencies to be present with us in those type of buildings, so that in a way we can help them to reach and to get in contact with our citizens. But we don't really have any particular competence on this matter.
Okay, sounds like that vulnerable communities are focused on, though, within the work that you do. And in Toronto...
Sorry,
just
because we've got quite a few questions to get. Okay.
Just go to Toronto?
Okay, yeah,
not?
Thank you.
Well, I can make it short because there's a continuing theme here, but education of all sorts, including skills training for adults, is really the domain of the province of Ontario. There are some funding for on a project basis available not just to municipalities, but also to training to colleges and universities, as well as sectoral specific institutions and civil society organizations. You know, a lot of our work, we deliver social services, we deliver employment and income supports on behalf of the province. It's one of our largest programs, but it is, again, a provincially mandated program that's delivered according to provincial standards. So our ability to sort of shape those programs is not as direct as it sounds like it is in London.
Thank you very much to you both. We're going to move on to revenue raising powers, so taxes and levies at a local level. I was quite interested to start off with, in terms of Milan, you have a local element of income tax. Is that something that was introduced more recently? How has that worked out, and how much does that contribute towards your overall income?
Yes, so I think you are referring to TARI, which actually, yes, a sort of waste tax, which is a tax that is strictly related to our fundings, and that we are try to we reduce it actually for.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor. So you have on your personal income, there's an extra tax that you charge. Yeah. Is that the same tax?
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. So yes, we have that tax, and usually recently we reduce it for people younger than 35 years old, because is a tax that is strictly related to housing. So due to the fact that we want to try to help citizens with the affordable housing challenge, we recently reduced for young people. But yes, we have this one, which is directly for us. And also, yes, I would say that. Nothing.
If I can just integrate, so TARI, it is a very important income and is completely dedicated to the cost of garbage collection. Then we have Tassa di Soggiorno, that is another taxation that we have on the tourism, but has to be inside the specific limit provided by the state. Then we have some additional tax to national tax, like the tax on personal income, that in Italy is IRPEF. We have an addiction to this tax on a small percentage, but that produces a specific income to Milan. And then, of course, we have fee on different kind of services that can be like sport or food for the schools or many other different services that produce income. Normally, we are not able to cover for some services the cost through the fee, and we have always a system of fee that distinguished by the income of the citizen, how high can be the fee for the different services.
Thank you. And I think both of you have a tourism tax and you both have major events next year. So Milan, of course, you have the Winter Olympics. Toronto, you'll be hosting the World Cup. Does the tourism tax in each area go? How much of that contributes towards the costs of hosting and bringing in major events like that?
I would say that the events of Olympic game, of course, will produce in a specific moment of the year. So as a time limit, much smaller compared to Expo event that was 6 months, for instance. But always will produce a more intense stream of tourists, but we cannot change the task because we are already at the limit, I would say. So we cannot increase the tax, something that we would like to do for the luxury hotel. But right now we need a law decision by the state that we are asking at least since 3 years. But right now we are not able to implement the tax, even just focusing on luxury hotel and luxury accommodation.
Okay, John?
Generally, or on the hotel tax?
Yeah, so specifically focused on tourism tax, and I think you're increasing that levy now in order to contribute towards some of the additional costs for infrastructure.
Yes, that is correct. So there is we call it a hotel tax. So it's a tax on hotel rooms, and there is a proposal before council to try and generate more money. But I mean, it will be far from obviously covering any kind of costs. Our issue when we host large events like this is because we have no share of the sales tax. That would be obviously the much more lucrative bump in revenue would be through getting some sort of share of the increased spending that goes on in the municipality. So those revenues accrue to the senior levels of government and not to the city. But yes, you are correct. There is a plan to temporarily increase the hotel tax to generate some more revenue for the city.
You've both talked about some of the challenges in terms of costs. Are there additional levies that you want to introduce that would help you cover those costs or control some of the strategic objectives you are trying to achieve?
Well, sure. Maybe I can just say a little bit about that because we've. I've mentioned already that our property tax does not grow with the economy, so it's a bit of a static tax. But we've recently our council has adopted a long-term financial strategy that's looked at other forms of taxation. We have recently implemented a vacant home tax. So we're, I think, into year 2 or 3 of that, and that has a dual objective, not only of generating revenue, but also to hopefully have a dampening influence on speculation, on units in multi-res buildings, in particular in Toronto, sitting empty. So that's an attempt to get those properties onto the rental market to address the housing issue. So we're into about year 2 or 3 of the vacant home tax. I will mention we have a land transfer tax as well, which is a tax on sales of property. So there's a percentage paid both to the provincial government on their land transfer tax and our own. I think I already mentioned the others that we might aspire to or have council has given some consideration to, are really outside of our jurisdiction. They've been explicitly prohibited. So congestion tax, road tolls, and so forth. So, our council's continuous mantra has been that we need more sources that grow, more sources of revenue that grow the economy, so that we can take part not only in things like FIFA and the World Cup, but also the general, improvements to the economy in Toronto. We don't tend to generally benefit from that.
Thank you, John. Milan?
I would say that the biggest issue is on public transports. Okay, so we need resources. Just to give you an idea, I can mention other 2 taxes, specific taxes we have. I was looking at the list. We have taxation also on public soil, and we have taxation on advertisement on public soil. But all those revenue are not enough to face the current cost, the current expenditure that we have to face, thinking about the strategy to implement the net of public transport and the costs of the new metro line. We have built 2 new metro lines in the last 15 years, but this didn't change the financial relationship, thinking about public current expenditure with the region and with the state. So this is the main goal, is to make more sustainable the investment on the long term, so the operational cost of the investment on infrastructure and public cost. Then the other 2 points I would mention are, of course, housing. So having a national plan, national resources to make bigger the impact of what we are doing by ourselves on the issues of housing. And the other big issue are social service. I would say, to maintain the level also with new cost of the social service and the environmental transition. So all the strategy to reduce the pollution in the air, to improve the quality of the air, are all actions that need resources and better synergy with the other institutional level.
Okay, grazie mille. So we're going to pass back to Assembly Member Russell, who will open our questions around scrutiny of the Mayor and within the city.
Yes, thank you. Now, our role as London Assembly members is we are specifically elected by Londoners to scrutinise the Mayor and what he does with the powers and the budget that he has. So I'm wanting to ask about what formal mechanisms you have in both cities to hold your Mayor to account, particularly given in both cities the Mayor is also a member of the council. So how does that scrutiny of the Mayor work in both cases? Should we go to Toronto?
Okay, thanks. Well, the key to understanding how we work is that there is no separation of legislative and executive powers in the City of Toronto. The council exercises both. And in fact, our framing legislation says all the powers and all the duties of the city shall be exercised by council. Now, there are some exceptions to that. I described to your colleague a moment ago that there are some marginal powers that have been assigned to the Mayor in certain respects. But by and large, without parties and with a relatively weak mayor system, we have 26 members, 25 elected on a ward or geographic basis, plus the mayor. Council makes decisions collaboratively in the absence of parties. I'm not saying there aren't politics, of course, but there There are no formal party structures in place which control the rate of progress of decision making in the council system. So all members are treated equally in that regard. And so as a result, the concept of scrutiny and mayoral scrutiny is, in a formal sense, is a foreign concept to us. Obviously, the mayor is scrutinized for her actions by the media, by the public, by council. But I would say a lot of the scrutiny of the city as a council apparatus is of council as a whole. We have 4 accountability officers, for example, who's one for members of council. There's an ombudsman who is concerned with investigations into maladministration by public servants. We have an auditor general. We have a lobbyist registrar. I would say those are 4 formal mechanisms we have in our legislation, but they're scrutinizing the entire apparatus. They're scrutinizing the council and the public service and the mayor. They're not specifically looking at the actions of the mayor. And because she has so few executive powers, no real executive powers, there is the scrutiny happens in the council chamber. It happens in the council meeting. They hold each other to account, and if you will, in that regard.
Thank you. That's very clear. So going to Milan, how does it work for you?
So I think the main difference for us is not between the mayor and the city council, but between the mayor and the city government and the city council. So actually the mayor is formally he is part of the city council, but is just a formal aspect. Actually, the great difference stands between the city council and the city government. So the mayor appoints the deputy mayors, and after that every decision that the deputy mayors want to implement need to get the approval of the city council. So, for instance, if we want to approve, and the city council has the power to approve or to reject the proposal about public works, taxes, establishment, budgeting, almost really everything. So we have our scrutiny is in a way at the beginning of the policies. So all the policies that we want to implement need to be discussed and to be approved by the city council.
Mm-hmm. And just finally, we heard from Toronto about measures to ensure accountability and transparency, some of the different mechanisms that they have. Do you have measures just to protect against lobbying, or so that the decisions are being made without outside influence?
Yes, obviously the mayor for us is in a way the legal representative of the municipality, and so he has the responsibility for all the prescriptions in order of transparency that the legislation provides. So we have a special direction which is actually which has the responsibility of it, and that depends directly to the mayor.
Thank you very much, both of you. Back to Chair.
Thank you very much. Just as a final question to all of you, in terms of from a scrutiny point of view, could you point to, and I appreciate Toronto, John, you were saying it's very different situation in terms of scrutiny, but could you point to one example in each of your cities where a positive change has come about to a policy because of scrutiny, because of the work of the Assembly or Council? Whoever would like to kick off with that.
Well, I'll start. I would just say, because all decisions are made in the council chamber of the full council, there are many things. I mean, all members of council are entitled to bring new business before council and attempt to gain traction for an evolving issue or a new issue or an existing issue. The mayor, of course, when the mayor does that, it's significant in the sense that she's been elected citywide, so that has maybe a little bit more prominence. To choose just one is difficult, but I think this is our system where even a priority the mayor has, she needs to obtain 14 votes at council, so she needs to build her coalition through the committee stage and through the council stage. And I've sat through council meetings now for 20 something years, and and I would say as I watch the council machinations happen, our system is very good at developing consensus around proposals. So even let's say a mayoral proposal that comes in that is proposing some I don't know, is taking a very strong position or a strong position along some sort of ideological or policy option pole. Our council is able to generally turn out decisions by making compromises as the matter is working its way through the committee and council system on the council floor. And generally, in my time, the things that our system is very good at coming up with optimal solutions to things which generate the widest possible consensus.
Thank you very much, John. That's really clear in terms of building that consensus as it goes through the process. Perhaps Deputy Mayor Romani.
If it's okay, Guy, I can.
Of course.
Yeah. Just to don't speak 2 times every time, to don't make too slow the audition. So giving an example, for instance, we have a very complicated debates in the last 6 years around the stadium, okay? The Stadio of San Siro. And there was a long discussion on create a new stadium, rebuild and reconstruct the same, restore the same, in which area. And so all those policies around the stadium has been very conflictual, with also divisions inside the majority. And so basically we try every time to find a solution before to expose the decision at the assembly. Because this would be a political problem, I would say, more than an administrative problem. Because thinking about the system we have now compared to the system of the municipality before the 1992 is a system in which the mayor can survive also to negative decision of the assembly. In past, the assembly could decide the mayor and the end of the mandate of the mayor by the assembly surviving. In our situation, if the mayor resign and quit the mandate, the whole assembly has to go to the election. And this gives a stronger power to the executive side. So in this conflict situation, basically, we have more and more political meetings before the formal meeting of the city council. And then we try to bring to the city council already a compromise, avoiding to express through votes this division in the city council.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your contributions. Grazie mille. I wasn't going to mention the football, obviously after recent events, so condolences to Internazionale. But look, thank you so much for your time and for joining us for this morning. Really insightful look into how your cities operate, and really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was an honor. Bye-bye.
Grazie. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Farewell.
We are going to just take a short adjournment of 5 minutes before we have our next part of our meeting. Thank you. Right, good afternoon, everybody. We're back at the Oversight Committee, and I'd like to welcome our guests into the chamber. We've got Deanne Tranmer, who is Executive Director for Corporate Resources and Business Improvement here at the GLA. We've also joined by Priya Clement, who is Employee Relations Lead at the GLA as well. We have before us for consideration the new draft policy on fertility and assisted conception for us to consider and to take forward for consultation. Before we do that, Deanne, would you like to tell us a bit more about the policy and the rationale for what for having it before us?
I will do. Thank you, Chair. As you just mentioned, we're seeking to introduce the new policy on fertility and assisted conception. We're bringing it to the Oversight Committee as required under paragraph 7.4 of the staffing protocol. We are currently going through a consultation with staff at the moment. So that consultation is through the staff networks and through our trade union, Unison. It has been through our People Board as well, so it's been approved by the corporate management team, and we have completed an equality impact assessment as well. The end of the feedback will be around the 11th of July, and subject to the feedback from the consultation, the intention would be to go live in around about 8 weeks, so about the beginning of September. So we're really happy to take any questions that you've got on the policy here.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start off with Assembly Member Baker.
Thanks very much, Chair. I think it's a really, really positive introduction of this policy. I would just like to ask, because obviously this is a standalone policy, but it interacts with a number of other policies, absence policy, flexible working, there's obviously maternity. Can you explain why it's been decided to introduce it as a separate policy, and whether there's any concerns about people not being aware of their sort of entitlements across different aspects, and whether that's sort of been looked at in the round?
Sorry, if I can take that question. So we considered this in the round, and there was a staff survey that was done in 2022 asking for a bespoke policy around this. This is to provide staff a safe space to actually requisite these leaves under a specific leave category. So while maternity covers the after conception, and you've got a disability leave that can be any kind of treatment, you've got carers policy, there wasn't anything bespoke that covers fertility treatment itself.
Yeah, can I just, happy to let you, but that's not really what I meant. I didn't mean that we didn't need something specifically addressing fertility. I'm why it has to be a separate policy, because I don't really think that the staff will, to be honest, care. That's something for for HR people to think about. Whether it's just that I've certainly seen in the past, sometimes when you have standalone policies, that there sometimes can be a little bit of confusion when your entitlements sort of move from one to the other. So it's sort of like, just, is there any concerns in that area, and how would that be picked up? But I absolutely understand the need for something specifically to address fertility. It's just a question of why it wouldn't have been amended to one of the other policies.
So the fertility treatment involves much more broader, like the IVF, and can actually involve a longer emotionally and mentally, physically demanding process. So this standalone policy recognises the reality of that situation and gives that practical and emotional support. So that's the reason why we wanted to consider that as a separate policy, recognising that it's consistent across teams. It aligns with our EDI goals as well, and one of the things that we committed as the Mayor's Good Work Standards.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to labour the point, but that's still not answering my question, because you could have all of those things, cover all of those things, as a part of another policy addressing all of that. Sorry, Diane, did you want to?
So, yes, and I do pick up the question. So I think when it was brought to us, we also wanted to make sure that we keep and monitor that people are aware of the full entitlements throughout all of the different policies. So I think we have brought this as a standalone policy because there were two options. There was amend the current policy, there was bring it as a standalone. Our current position is it would stand better with the areas. It was covering a broader and a wider range. We felt that was better for the standalone element of it. But actually, as the corporate management team, we do want to be clear and keep monitoring that people are aware of the full range of different benefits that are available to them, and we will track that and pick that up under the people board that we have on a regular basis. I think for me as well, I was particularly interested because we've got, I think one of the questions you may have is, how are you aware of all of the range of different support that is available to you? And at some point, I wouldn't mind getting kind of a table or a tracker of that so that we can communicate that more effectively, so that all staff are aware. You don't have to keep trawling through each individual policy. You would be able to see that and be familiar with what is available and what support is there for you.
Thanks. That does make sense in terms of awareness. My follow-up was going to be about how you're going to monitor people's awareness of this policy versus others as well. So I think you've answered that. So back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I've got Assembly Member Best.
Thank you. I understand the aims of this. I would just say, as somebody that's gone through fertility on a few occasions, that I wouldn't really feel comfortable. I would feel more comfortable, should I say, if this was part of a wider document. I think having to refer specifically to the fertility document and take your leave based on the fertility document, which is quite a private matter, to me, I would feel much more comfortable if this was part of a wider policy that I could refer to. I don't know if you considered that, but I do think putting it as a standalone document almost seems kind of a signal of we're trying to do really well on our EDI, but actually it's a really personal matter, and I think having to refer to that singular document for what is quite a personal matter doesn't sit as comfortably with me.
Thank you. That's helpful feedback, and we will look at the feedback that we've had from staff and through networks as well, just to see if that's a common theme. So, but that's very helpful to get that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Assembly Member Georgiou.
Thank you, Chair. Unlike my two previous colleagues, I've got no particular problem with a separate policy for the simple reason that I'm sure will be weaved into further provisions as you go along. I mean, it's what I've sort of kind of heard in response to Assembly Member Baker. I think it's a very good policy, but I don't think it's as... I'm a bit confused in the key provisions between key point 2 and key point 3, which is... probably, I suspect all colleagues support the 10 days paid leave. However, how that interweaves, because it's very specific, a proposal for up to 10 days paid leave when staff are at the treatment stage in their fertility journey. But then it goes on to say in point 3, clarification of existing GLA leave provisions that could be used at other times, for example, sickness leave, flexible working and time off medical appointments under the maternity policy. Now, I can't, in my mind, see the distinction between those 2 points, and also, unless I've misread, and apologies if I have, I can't, as a layman and as a man, I don't understand what part of the fertility journey the 10 days starts and ends in. So if you could clarify, that'd be helpful.
So the fertility journey starts at the point of the actual treatment. So the sickness provisions or any other leaves is while you're having those initial appointments and considering whether you want to undertake this process. So there's different leave provisions for that. But the actual treatment journey, we've looked at the statistics as well, it's about 8.5 days, and which is why we put the proposal for the 10 days. So it's actually for that one treatment cycle.
And I'm not proposing, I think in this current policy, that your answer clarifies, but perhaps tighten it up when you get to a final version, so people understand that. Because I think probably, and through my wife's own 2 pregnancies, you know, it's when you add in maternity leave and annual leave and then medical appointments and stuff like that, it can all get really convoluted. And I appreciate what you guys are doing. You're trying to clarify the process in a separate document, which in my mind seems like a good idea, because it'll be more concrete and you'd have to go through your contract and all long-winded documents to try and find what you're looking for on this particular issue. So I think overall it's very good, but I think if you could just add some more clarifications in within the separate policy, that would be helpful from my perspective. Thank you.
We take your point. We'll make sure the guidance is actually clear as well.
Yeah, no, I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Move over to Assembly Member Russell, please.
Yeah, just very briefly, because I think most of the points have been covered, but I just wanted to welcome the inclusive nature of the policy and the fact that it does recognise, you know, that it applies to staff regardless of gender identity, orientation or relationship status. I think that's really important. So thank you.
Okay, thanks. Assembly Member Bakari.
Yeah, thank you. I do think it is a good thing to be a standalone policy myself, because it's highlighting a really difficult situation for many people who are going through fertility treatment. Pleased to see 3.6 on the recognition of fertility not being just an issue of heterosexual couples as well, regardless of gender and identity or orientation. That's a really good inclusion there. So my question is about the mental health that the people who are going through this treatment are going through. And you've noted the fact that you will be allowing compassionate leave after a failed cycle of fertility treatment, which I'm really pleased to see, because it is a bereavement when this happens. Can you just give me some clarification about the time that leave will happen? Because, you know, when it comes to things like bereavement and mental health, it's not just during the time of the fertility treatment itself. It may be later on or much later on. Have you factored into this, into the piece of work that you're doing on this?
Yes, we have. So you're right, it depends on the timing. So if it is post-conception, your maternity leave policy actually kicks in. So the bereavement can tie in with what we have in terms of the maternity leave options and when that actually happens. We've also got separate bereavement leave that we've got. Staff can take up to 10 working days on that. But any kind of compassionate leave, we take that on a case-by-case basis. And some places it's gone up to about 2 weeks, including annual leave as well. So we're considering that. We're working with the EAP as well to make sure we've got support for staff during that time and they can actually avail provisions around that.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to clarify, that offers a number of counselling sessions for any member of staff, doesn't it? So for whatever reason they have. So just to, as you go out to, I mean, I think first of all, clearly very positive response for having this, and thank you for the work that's gone into it. As you go into the consultation stage, I think, I guess one of the questions that might come up from people who've gone through other challenging circumstances with their health and so on, and a review of how we deal and support with people who are going through those other health challenges. And that sort of element of fairness and equity, is that something that has been considered in terms of how we develop this and how we might review our other policies?
Yeah, so in terms of looking at our health challenges, one of the good things we've actually recently done is review our sickness policy as well and enhance the entitlement to 6 months full pay and 6 months half pay, and we've just rolled that one out. So looking at medical, so if there are specific medical conditions, we're hoping our sickness policy actually covers that. We haven't encountered anything that's come outside and said we need a definite bespoke policy like the one for fertility. But if there's feedback and any changes that come through, we'll consider during that phase.
And then just the final one in terms of other forms of assisted conception aren't taken into consideration as part of this this proposal. Is there a particular reason why that wasn't included in terms of, you know, other support, well, other forms of assisted conception which may require time off in order to achieve, you know,
so
that outcome?
We've got separate policy, which is the adoption one, but in terms of assisted conception, it is just looking at the fertility treatment and IVF, because we've already got surrogacy and adoption within our family-friendly policies, which actually cover any kind of outside assisted conception.
Yeah, okay, great. So you feel like all of that is already covered. Fantastic. Okay, any other questions from members? No? Well, thank you very much again for your time and for the policy. All the very best.
Thank you.
I can ask the committee to agree to respond to the Chief Officer on the proposal to introduce a new policy on fertility and assisted conception and to note the considerations set out in the proposal. Thank you. You're welcome to stay or leave at this point. We've got a couple more bits to just go through. So the next report we have before us is the Secretariat Quarterly Budget Report. I believe we've got no questions for the committee on that. So if I can ask the committee to note the quarterly report set out in the appendix, please. Thank you very much. And the next item is in relation to our work plan. So can I ask the committee to note the work programme for the rest of the year, 25-26. And date of the next meeting is scheduled to take place on the 9th of July at 10 a.m. in this chamber. Any other business? I've not been notified of any, so thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by. This is the broadcast from City Hall, the home of the Greater London Authority. Please stand by.